Hello and greetings from the vicarage on this our patronal festival. I'm very sorry that we can't all get together and celebrate St Mary in church as we usually do, but remember, if you're receiving this message, you are receiving the same message as I'm giving in church. Although it's sad that we can't hold our usual patronal services and meet in church in the afternoon for tea and cake and an opportunity to walk around the church and admire the beautiful flower arrangements, at least we are now beginning our second month of services in the church. The first month was a very testing time. Everything was different, and we had to work on new ways to open the church and prepare it ready for worship. I'm pleased that everyone helped by following all that was put in place, following the guidance from the National Church, and from the responses that I've heard, St Mary's is doing well, considering the many restrictions. In fact, we have even held 2 weddings over the past fortnight. The Patronal Festival, as you know, is a celebration of our patron saint, who is of our church. And I think we're very fortunate that our church is named after Mary, the Mother of Christ. The Bible tells us a little bit about her, but there's a lot we have to imagine, reading in between the lines on the different occasions when she is mentioned. We know that she was an ordinary young girl who God chose to be the mother of his only Son, Jesus Christ. We know that also God loved her and showed his love for her by trusting her with his most precious gift. And she responded by showing her love for him by agreeing to this most onerous of requests. We read time and time again how God chooses the least obvious person to do something for him. But this should not really come as a surprise, because after all, he knows everything about each of us. He knew that Mary was the right person and that she would be able to carry out all that he needed of her. We have 2 readings this morning for Mary. The first is from St Paul's letter to the church in southern Galatia, which he founded on his first missionary journey. And you'll find this in Galatians chapter 4, verses 4 to 7. The Gospel reading for Mary is from the first chapter of Luke's Gospel, and that is you will find in verses 46 to 55. You'll know this as the Magnificat, the first word in the Latin translation of this passage, which we often sing in church. And when we are allowed, we will sing it again, because these are the words of Mary's song. I believe that she sang these words out of great excitement of what the Lord had blessed her with. We know that Mary was from Nazareth, and today there is a large church, a Catholic church, often referred to as a basilica, on the site which many believers believe was her childhood home. Some also believe that this was here in the place where the angel Gabriel visited her with the Lord's message. The church has 2 floor levels. The lower level contains a grotto of the Annunciation, and the upper floor contains many images of Mary. Most of these are in ceramics, and each one is from a different country where there is a large Catholic population. When I first visited Nazareth, it was whilst I was on my journey from Galilee down to Jerusalem. I was driving in a car on a good road. A fair amount of this road was a motorway or toll road, which I was sent a bill some time after returning home, and it took me a couple of hours to travel. Whilst racing down the motorway, it struck me that Mary was heavily pregnant, and Joseph with her, and they were both travelling a distance of about 90 miles with no roads, up and down hills, and all they had to help them was a donkey. I don't know how long they spent travelling, but it must have been several days. And the thought crossed my mind as, where did they stop to eat, or even to sleep? We all know the Christmas story very well, and Mary is mentioned in the Bible on a few other occasions. She was not too pleased when she lost her son Jesus and found him in the temple talking with the scholars. Mary encouraged Jesus to perform his first miracle, turn the water into wine, at the wedding feast in Cana, a village not far from Nazareth. Mary is referred to on many other occasions during Jesus' ministry, and the final one is when we see her and hear about her standing at the foot of the cross, watching her son being crucified. Mary was chosen by God, and I believe that each of us are also chosen by him. He has chosen you and me to be an instrument to carry Christ into the world. And we carry Christ, as Mary did, in our own hearts. I am convinced that he has not only chosen us as individuals, but also as his family here in this place, to accomplish great works of love on Christ's behalf. God has brought us together for a reason. And if you dare to believe that, as Mary dared to believe it, I think fantastic things can happen in the life of this parish and village. If only you dare to believe that you are chosen. Sometimes in our life, there comes a moment when you realise the great things God has done in you and in your life, and your heart begins to burst with praise. It's truly amazing what God has done and is doing through you, despite how your life has been turned upside down recently. I know that we still live in very difficult times, but take comfort in God, who always triumphs over everything, and try and be more like Mary, willing to believe, despite any doubts that you might have, and not asking so much for more faith, but the courage to use the faith that you have already been given. Amen.